Just because you're not making money right now does not mean you're failing. Just because things feel overwhelmed and confusing and chaotic and stressful doesn't mean you're failing. It doesn't mean you're going to fail. It's just all part of this journey. I have my chai tea in my hand. I am sitting back in my office, and it's just you, me, and the hum of the traffic outside. No, I'm so happy to be here, and I'm so glad you're here with me. I have been stuck at home quarantining for the past however many days. I got COVID. Finally, it caught me. Don't even know where I got it from, if I'm being honest. I thought I might have got it from one of the kids, but they were testing negative. So I was like, I literally don't know where I've got this from. I've not been anywhere. I was doing my launch. Thankfully, it came at the end of my launch, but honestly, I couldn't even call it a mild cold. So I was really lucky and felt really fortunate. And, but yeah, it feels so good to be back out in civilization and be able to go places. So I'm just happy, even though there's no one in the office, it's just me sat here by myself today. I'm liking my space and being able to be here and to work in silence with the traffic. So anyway, I'm glad that you're here. I did want to say before I kind of go into this further, just in case you don't know, I'm not sure where you're listening or watching this, but this is available on Spotify. So if you like, I personally like listening to podcasts on Spotify just because I'm always on there. And so it's on Spotify, the Shumi's Business Show. It's also on Apple Podcast. It's on like basically every platform. And it's on YouTube, it's on our website. So you can catch this in video format. You can also just catch it on audio if you just prefer to like put your headphones in or listen in the car or something. Just wanted to let you know. But anyway, I wanted to talk about something that I've seen coming up quite a lot lately. And it always kind of comes up, this one. Have you ever heard the quote, overnight success takes 10 years? Yeah. I think that so often I see this time and time again. When people are starting businesses or we're starting new ideas, we want it to happen now. We want to see success and results now. We want to and if it's not producing results as fast as we think it should, then we think it's not working. This isn't working. Isn't going to, and then we start thinking it isn't going to work. And then so many people at that point just start to lose faith, lose hope and give up. And so many ideas never actually get to take off because people don't see them through because they feel like success should happen much faster than it does. And I think that in this world we live in now with social media, we're always seeing the highlight reels from everyone else. We're not really seeing the journey it's taken to get them to where they are. And, we're also seeing, social media world is very strange these days, isn't it? Such a facade. The pictures we post on there aren't real. Someone was talking to me recently saying, I need to have a new photo shoot done. And I know I probably do because I'm using professional photos of myself that were taken in 2015. And there was another photo shoot I had in 2016, just after I got married. And I'm still using the same old pictures. The one where me holding the polystyrene cup that has nothing in it. And she said this and I was like, yeah, you know what? I do need to have some more professional pictures taken. And maybe I need to get them done more regularly so I've got content to put out. But I'm like, yeah, but... And I do, and I will get these photos done. However, part of me is just yes, but it's so fake. It's so fake. It's going to be fake pictures of me doing fake things I probably don't normally do. It's such a fine balance, isn't it, between of doing it all. But anyway, my point really is that on social media these days, we don't even know what we're seeing, if it's real or if it's not real. And it definitely, we all get this illusion from people that there's so much success and it's so amazing, but what you don't see is the behind the scenes of what it took to bloom and get there, or what they're actually going through at that moment in time. Or I think so often people think that I have it all perfectly figured out and together, but I think to myself, bloody hell, if only you could come on the inside and you could realize half the time what a bloody mess I am. And I'm always constantly trying to get more intentional and really taking it back to my mindset work because I've gone down some kind of rabbit hole and torn myself to shreds. But anyway, going back to the thing I wanted to talk about was this idea of overnight success. I really wanted to talk about this for any of you that feel like it's not happening fast enough, you're not where you want to be at, you're fed up, you're frustrated, and you're starting to think, is this ever going to bloody work? Am I ever going to be able to make this work? Because from the people that I know, success isn't just something that happens really quickly. Success happens over time. And And then people feel like, oh my gosh, that's so frustrating though. But I always think like, it's like learning a language or learning a musical instrument. You know logically that if you've never played the piano before in your life and you start getting piano lessons and you start learning to play the piano, it's not like on month 2, you're going to be bashing out Claire de Lune. Like, you're not. You know you're not. You logically know you're not. Yet for some bizarre reason, I think when it comes to business and building a business, it almost feels like we get to month 2 or 6 or whatever, and if we're not making blooming 6 figures already, or we're not made 30 grand or something crazy, then we start to feel like we're failing and, oh my gosh, we're not making any money yet, this isn't going to work. In fact, we get a year in and think it's not making money, it's not going to work. We get 2 years in and think it's not making money, it's not going to work. And we start to really lose hope. But actually, we for all we know, we're sat on the brink of a breakthrough, and it's like right there if we just kind of keep taking tiny little steps. And I wanted to share more on my journey with you on this, because for me, getting to the level where I'm at today has been a long time in the making. And I remember being back in like 2008, 2009, watching webinars of different people. I remember Frank Kern being one of the people whose webinars I would see. And I'm not going to lie, there was a part of me that was like, is he for real? Like, is he actually telling the truth? And like, obviously he is, but I was like, how are people actually making this much money and building these online businesses? And I know so many of you know already, like I started my first online business in 2005, which was a phone unlocking business, and it was really successful. It was great. It generated the money. But I definitely had this feeling that I wanted to do something more. I wanted to create something that was more meaningful, that was going to be more fulfilling, something more aligned with my passions and what I really loved. And I remember back then being on those webinars on the cusp of starting this more information-based online business where I could like share information, inspire other people, get other women together who wanted to build businesses, thinking, you know, how am I going to do this? And I remember stopping and starting so many times, getting massive imposter syndrome and just not even being able to keep going with it. But then when I actually finally plucked up the courage to start FEA, I got going with it, and I was kind of building, I was building my social media presence. I was networking. I was, starting to build up a little email list. I was doing all these things, and I got to 2 years in nearly, and I literally wasn't making any money. Hadn't been making any money. I'd made like, I don't know, maybe 1,000 in like advertising money that I generated from people advertising in the magazine I ran at the time. Like, it was so minimal. And I kept going because I felt in my heart, in myself, that I was on the right tracks, that I was doing something that I really wanted to be doing, that I wanted to figure out a way to make it work. I kept believing in myself and in what I could achieve if I just stuck at it and kept going. And so I did. And I worked on myself. I worked on my money blocks. I worked on all that stuff. And it wasn't until the 3rd year of really going into FEA that I started to piece together how I could actually make it financially successful and start making some money. And it really wasn't until probably like year 5, going into year 5, when it actually started to generate a really decent amount of revenue. And so it took so many years of tinkering and figuring out and not making any money and just keeping at it before I had a breakthrough and was able to see the way to actually making this really financially successful. And I think for all of us, I think for most of us, because there are some people who I've seen have really quick wins, but they are by far in the minority. Like, I just think that for the majority of us, trying to figure out how to, like, building a successful business, taking our ideas, turning it into a really financially successful business, it does take time. For most people, it takes way longer than a year. For some people like me, it took me like 3 to 5 years. For some people, it takes even longer. And like, if you bear that in mind, like me being able to get to a point where I was making a really good amount of money, but if you take into consideration, like, actually my first business and my experience in my first business, it was more like over 10 plus years it took to get to that point where I really had really nailed it and was doing like really, really well. And I think our journeys are all so different, yet we compare ourselves so much to each other. And not only that, we compare ourselves to what we think is the truth for somebody else. So we might see someone else and think, bloody hell, like they've created success so fast. And then it makes us feel like an utter failure that we haven't been able to do the same thing. And then we start to like get really hard on ourselves and start to feel like it's never going to work out for us. And we like lose hope and we start to feel really stressed out and frustrated, and it doesn't feel good. And so often I think that's why going on social media can feel really crappy, because we go down these rabbit holes of just comparing ourselves to everyone else, feeling utterly crap about our own lives because we think, bloody hell, my life isn't this perfect. Well, I think that's just the problem of social media, because it's not real. But I think this is the thing, and we start to think that we should have success a lot faster. So I really wanted to kind of share this message with you in this today, just because if you have an idea that you're working on and it's not come to fruition yet, I really just want to just be that reminder for you. And maybe this is a sign that you've been needing, that you are on the right track. If you're following your dreams, if you're following your heart, you are on the right track. It is not leading you astray. Like Rumi says in the quote, I can't remember what he says now. He says something like, follow your heart. I think he actually says, follow your heart, it won't lead you astray. Oh, no, he doesn't. He doesn't. He says, your heart knows the way. I can't even remember what he says now. I mean, if you're watching this on video, James, maybe you can edit in over the top so we can all remember what the quote says. But basically, your blooming heart knows the way. It's not going to lead you astray. Bit of rhyming. But yeah, this is a sign for you that you are on the right track and that you can do this. And it doesn't matter if it's taking you longer than you thought it would. Most things do take us longer than we think they will to come into fruition. And the other saying, it's like the fruit is the last thing to grow on the fruit tree. You plant the seed, then the tree grows, and then eventually, after a really long time, the fruit starts to grow. And then until we can get the fruit off the tree. And so it's the same thing with our goals, with our ideas, with our dreams, with what we want to bring into fruition. It's sometimes a longer process, and we have to be willing to trust the process, to trust the journey, and not only to trust it, to actually enjoy it, which obviously can be a little bit challenging with maybe like so much uncertainty along the pathway. But I mean, that is the entrepreneurial journey for you. It's just craziness, isn't it, of ups and downs and twists and turns and whatnot. But I think once you really buckle yourself in for the ride and you kind of are just committed to following your vision, your dreams and your heart, then I just think it's about really just constantly taking those next little tiny steps, that next little tiny step, that next little tiny step. And as you take those tiny, tiny little steps, it starts to build. And then it's just like, one day you wake up and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm here. I actually got to this place that I wanted to get to. And maybe it has taken you 5 years, but the reality is for most people, they don't see it through. They don't give themselves permission to see it through because they get so caught up on looking around themselves, feeling like they're failing, that it's failing, that just because it's not making money right now, it must be failing. It is not. Let me tell you, it is not. Just because you're not making money right now does not mean you're failing. Just because things feel overwhelmed and confusing and chaotic and stressful doesn't mean you're failing. It doesn't mean you're going to fail. It's just all part of this journey. And when we allow ourselves to take a step back and actually really enjoy and try and enjoy it all more, enjoy the craziness more, I think we can keep taking tiny little steps to keep making, incredible things happen. So I really wanted to share with you some of the core things that have really helped me stay on track as I've gone on my own entrepreneurial journey and have been able to have breakthroughs and go from thinking, Bluminette, can you actually do this? Can you actually really make a decent amount of money, with an online business, with courses or, information-based business? Can you really do that? To being able to do it and have making like so much money from doing it. So So the first thing, I remember when I got started and I was in those early days and I wasn't making any blooming money, and people would say to me, Carrie, what are you doing? Carrie, do you not think maybe you should go and get a proper job? A proper job? I mean, that one came up quite a lot. And I would think, bloody hell, I don't need your doubts and worries. I've already got enough of my own, thanks very much. But I had a quote on my wall and it said, successful people hang on when everyone else has let go. And I would look at that quote, and I know I've said this a million times, but I would look at that quote and I would think to myself, Carrie, you're hanging on. You're hanging on. Like, I finally had the courage to go for my dream. I wasn't about to just let it all go. Like, I was hanging on and I was going to see it through and just figure out what I could make happen. When you give yourself permission to hang on, and I don't mean to hang on to the point where you're burning out or it's stressful. I'm not talking about that kind of hanging on. I'm talking about staying really connected and aligned with your vision, your dream. What do you want for yourself? What do you want for your life? What do you want for your business? And getting so connected with that and hanging on to that, because otherwise, what's the point? What's the point in letting go? We live one life. That is it. We are here for this one life. And it's not, I always think to myself, it's not a blooming dress rehearsal. I don't get to the end of it all and think, oh, wish I could do it all over again. I'd make some better decisions. Like, no, this is it. And we've got to make those better decisions today. So hang on for your dreams, because what are you letting go for? What's the alternative if you let go? Going back to doing something you don't want to do? Working on something else? Like, what is the alternative? But what if you can hang on to this dream? What if you can hang on to that vision that you've got and you can just keep going, keep taking those tiny little steps, tiny little steps, tiny little steps? Where could you get to? You can make the most amazing things happen. So if you need to, stick that quote somewhere, you'll see it every day. Successful people hang on when everyone else has let go. Because we can all choose to be the person that hangs on to our dreams. We can all be that person that decides, I'm going to hang on to this. I'm going to keep going and I'm going to figure this out and I'm going to make amazing progress. So that's the first thing. The second thing is trust. I want you to write that word down in big letters and stick it somewhere you can see it every day. Because you have to trust the process. You have to trust that you will get there. You have to trust that you are somehow going to be able to make this happen. It is such a powerful word. I always put it on every vision board that I've ever created. Trust has been a word that's been right in the center of it. Because I've always looked at those goals and dreams and thought, I have to trust that somehow I can manifest this stuff, that I can bring this into my reality. Because you have to trust that it's yours. You have to trust that it's a done deal, that somehow you are going to find a way to bring those things to life. And if you can trust and just kind of surrender because you're just trusting so much, it just opens the way. I have really found that when I just completely trust and just exist in this knowing that I don't know how, I don't know when, but I know somehow this is going to become my reality. When I live and exist in that space, the pathway begins to unfold in really, honestly, quite magical, incredible, amazing ways. Like when I decided that I really wanted to become a Hay House author, I just, at the time, obviously, it felt like a far-fetched, crazy dream. Like it felt like, okay, like how the heck am I even going to do that? I don't know. But I just kind of kept I kept trusting that was somehow going to happen. And as I would think about becoming a Hay House author, I would just, the more I did it, the more normal it felt, until it just felt normal that it was just going to be something that I did. Like it just felt like it can't not manifest itself. Like it's going to manifest itself. It is just a done deal. I don't know how, I don't know when, but it's just going to happen. I know it. I can feel it in my bones. And that's kind of like how I really felt about it. And I know I've told this before, but I would go, to Hay House events and I'd be sat there watching these Hay House authors speaking on the stage. And it would just be envisioning that it was me on the stage. And I just had this massive amount of trust that somehow it was going to be me. That somehow I was going to know all those Hay House people. Just somehow, someday, some way, that would be me. And so just have an enormous amount of trust in yourself, in your dreams, in your ideas, and in the fact that they've come to you for a reason. You've had those ideas for a reason. They're yours for a reason. So trust that you will be able to make it happen. And even if you don't know how, you don't know when, just know that you are somehow going to figure it out, and you're going to open up the way for it. So really, really trusting yourself, trusting your vision and your ideas, trusting the process. there's a great analogy that Esther Hicks uses, and Abraham says, imagine getting in your car and driving from Phoenix to San Diego. You know, with every mile you drive that you are a step, you're getting closer to getting to San Diego. And even if you hit a roadblock or a diversion, or you go the wrong way, anything can happen, but you still know with certainty that you can figure out that you can physically get from Phoenix to San Diego. It's a physical journey. You can physically get there. The same way you can go from your house to your nearest town. You can physically do it. And it's like saying, like, looking at our dreams and our goals in the same way and trusting that we can get from where we are now to where we want to be. And really kind of connecting in with where we want to be and feeling it like it's already ours, it's already happened, it already exists. So definitely open yourself up to trusting. Trust the journey, trust the process, trust that you're in the right place at the right time. And like for me, with like my book with that I obviously ended up in the end wrote and got published with Hay House. I remember starting to write that book back in 2011, I think, and the first draft of that book was horrendous. It was awful. It was blooming awful. It was not even a fraction of what the book was when I actually published it in 2017. And so the point for me realizing that I had to go on that journey, I had to go through those ups and downs and twists and turns to be able to write the book that I needed to write. That was part of the journey. So sometimes we feel like this is so impossible, this is so hard, but actually, what if it's just a big part of the lessons that we need to go through, the journey we have to go on to make us great? Because becoming great, it doesn't just happen. Like, we have to become great, and sometimes becoming great means we've got to like climb a blooming mountain, or we go through these trials and these tribulations, but they shape who we are. They help us to become better and better and better if we allow them to. So it's kind of like realizing that we are all on these unique journeys, and that's why I hold trusting the journey, trusting the process, because trusting that you are where you need to be at right now. For some reason, you are where you are, but trying to figure out that actually, okay, I am where I need to be right now, and like this is where I'm moving towards. I'm going to trust that this is the direction I'm going in, and I'm fully trusting. And the third thing, is like just keep learning. Keep learning. Open yourself up to learning. Look at the books you're reading, the podcasts you're listening to. You already listened to podcasts. This is amazing. It's great. But like, keep feeding your mind with things that are going to help you to keep going, to keep believing in yourself, to keep trusting that you're going to make it happen. Like, immerse yourself in that stuff that gives you that inspiration. And it's like, yes, I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. And like, as you learn, you grow, you evolve as a person. As you evolve as a person, everything else in your life begins to expand and expand and expand. So I've always found just opening myself up to keep learning, to keep growing has been so transformational. And when you stay focused on where it is that you want to go, and you keep taking those tiny little step, learning, tiny step, you get to where you want. You can't not get to where you want when you focus on that. You will. It's like learning to play the piano. If you're wanting to learn the piano and you're practicing and practicing and learning and learning and practicing and practicing and learning, in 5 years' time, you're going to be really a much better player than you were when you started. You can't not be. You can't not be. And it's the same in building a business. But like I said, so many of us think that like we get kind of, we get stuck in this illusion that it needs to be happening now. It should be happening faster. No, should it really? Should it? Does it? Like, I don't see that happening for so many people. It doesn't happen faster. It's going to happen when it happens, but you have to trust in yourself and trust in the process and everything enough to know that actually, no, I just need to keep going, keep taking my tiny steps. And as I do, my path keeps unfolding. I keep moving in the direction that I want to be going in. Because the alternative is I'm going to get off this pathway and I'm going to get onto the pathway that says, I can't do this. I can't make progress. I can't get to where I want to get to. It's not going to work out for me. It's not going to happen for me. It happens to other people, but it doesn't happen for me. And where the heck is that going to get you? It is going to take you back to a place where you don't want to be. So stay on your path. Stay on the path where you're following your heart. You're following your desires. You're following your dreams, and allow yourself to trust and to hang on and to keep going and to keep learning and to keep growing, and it'll all open up for you, and it'll be an amazing journey, an amazing ride. But you will be able to create so much success. Success is not an accident. It's something we create on purpose, and we can create it on purpose day in, day out. And so it's like, what are we doing to create that success? What tiny steps are we taking to get us closer and closer and closer? And just, sticking with it. And I know from my own experience, like, you can go from not having a bloody clue and being confused and overwhelmed, not making money for ages and ages and ages, to figuring out how to break through and to get there. And sometimes we need to get to that point of blooming desperation to be able to actually break through. Like for me, it took me to run out of all my money to have the money block break through and create the success I wanted. And yeah, we all can. So if you are thinking like success should be happening faster, or that you are, you're considering giving up, because it's not happening fast enough and you're starting to feel like you're a failure, you're absolutely not. And I want you to open yourself up to get on this path where you're clear with your vision and you're trusting, you're welcoming that success in. And that's what I did. I literally would just, I would visualize, I would just play around with different ideas and different things that just kept me going and kept me motivated, in the sense of I would get lost visualizing things that I wanted to make happen, whether it was speaking on stage or writing my book, or, walking to a bookshop and seeing my book on the stage, or seeing money in my bank. And I would just get lost in visualizing that experience for myself, that life for myself. And it's amazing how life can open up for you when you start to visualize that's the good stuff instead of the bad stuff. So that's what I started doing, just visualizing getting to where I wanted to get to. So keep visualizing it, keep staying focused on it, stay aligned with it, stay focused on it. Take those tiny little steps and you will get there. Surround yourself with the right people, you will get there. Learn what you need to learn, you will get there. And maybe it will take you a year, maybe it'll take you 2 years, maybe it'll take you 5 years, but it will be blooming worth it, especially if you can enjoy the journey on the way. And it's a fun, exhilarating journey. And just surround yourself with the right people who've got your back, though, to help you to keep going and keep going and keep going. And you don't want to be surrounded by people that are saying what are you still doing this? No, distance yourself from those people and surround yourself with the ones that are going to actually cheer you on and say, no, keep going. You've got this. You can do it, because you bloody have got it and you blooming can do it. And I'm here. I'm cheering you on. I'm your biggest cheerleader, cheering you on all the way. You can do it. You've got this. So anyway, that is all I wanted to say. Hopefully it has inspired you, and hopefully it'll help you as you keep going along your amazing journey. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you fancy leaving me a review on iTunes or anything, then I would absolutely love it so much, because when you leave me reviews, it helps more people to find the podcast, which is amazing. So yeah, if you could do that, I'd be so grateful. But I will see you next week anyway for another episode of the She Means Business Show. In the meantime, come and hang out on social media, on Instagram at I am Carrie Green or at Female Entrepreneur Association. We've got lots of good stuff going on over there. And so come and join us. I'll be excited to see you there. All right, I will see you next time. Bye. I hope you loved this week's episode of the She Means Business Show. If you want more help and support to build a wildly successful business, then join hundreds of thousands of women and become an FEA insider. You'll get access to some of our amazing freebies, to our bonuses, to our giveaways, to so much good stuff. You can join me over at fea.link/insider to get all of the goodness. And I will see you next week for another episode of the She Means Business Show.